Welcome to the channel, The Coin Hunter, and let me ask you something that might just change your entire day. What if I told you that the loose change rattling around in your pocket, the coins you barely glance at before handing them over at the checkout, could actually be worth $30 million? I'm not talking about ancient treasure or gold doubloons from a sunken ship. I'm talking about a simple, ordinary-looking penny that was minted just over 2 decades ago, a coin so common that millions of people have held it, spent it, tossed it into fountains without a second thought. But here's the thing. One specific version of this penny, the 2001 Lincoln Penny, has become one of the most sought-after coins in American numismatic history, and collectors are willing to pay absolutely insane amounts of money to own it. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this particular penny worth more than most people will earn in their entire lifetime, I need you to do something for me. Stick around until the very end of this video, because after we uncover the secrets of this 2001 penny, I'm going to reveal 3 more Lincoln pennies that are even more valuable, including one that could make the $30 million price tag look like pocket change. And trust me, you're going to want to check your coin collection after hearing about these absolute monsters of the coin world. So let's start with this 2001 Lincoln Penny, shall we? The year 2001 was significant for many reasons. It marked the beginning of a new century. It was a year that would be forever remembered in American history. And it was also the year that the Denver Mint, indicated by that small d mint mark beneath the date, produced hundreds of millions of Lincoln pennies for circulation. Now, you might be thinking, if they made hundreds of millions of these coins, how could any of them be worth $30 million? Great question. The answer lies in something that coin collectors call error coins, and more specifically, an error so rare, so extraordinary, that when it happens, it creates instant legends in the numismatic community. You see, the Denver Mint in 2001 was operating with precision machinery, quality control systems, and experienced staff. But even with all that technology and expertise, mistakes happen. And when they do happen during coin production, the results can be spectacular. The 2001 Lincoln Penny that's worth $30 million isn't just any ordinary penny. Oh no. This is a coin that features multiple catastrophic minting errors that occurred simultaneously, creating what experts call a perfect storm of numismatic anomalies. We're talking about a coin that was struck on the wrong planchet, meaning instead of being struck on a standard copper-plated zinc blank like normal pennies. This particular coin was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination entirely. Imagine a penny-sized design being stamped on a metal that was supposed to become a quarter or even a dollar coin. But wait, it gets even better, because this wasn't just a wrong planchet error. This coin also features what's known as a double die obverse, meaning the die that strikes the front of the coin was misaligned during the hubbing process, causing Abraham Lincoln's portrait, the date, and the word liberty to appear doubled, creating a shadowy, ghost-like duplicate image that's visible to the naked eye. And if that wasn't enough, this particular specimen also shows evidence of a dramatic off-center strike, where the coin wasn't properly seated in the striking chamber, resulting in a design that shifted significantly to one side, with part of the blank planchet visible along the edge. It's like winning the error lottery 3 times on the same coin. Now, you might be wondering, how does something like this even make it out of the mint? Well, despite rigorous quality control, the U.S. Mint produces billions of coins every year, and occasionally, just occasionally, an error coin slips through the cracks, gets mixed in with normal production, and enters circulation where it can remain hidden for years, even decades, until some lucky individual finds it and realizes they're holding something extraordinary. The first confirmed example of this ultra-rare 2001 error penny was discovered in 2003 by a collector in Colorado who was going through rolls of pennies he'd purchased from his local bank. Imagine his shock when he pulled out this coin and immediately recognized that something was very different about it. He sent it off to be authenticated by PCGS, the professional coin grading service, one of the most respected third-party grading companies in the numismatic world. And when the experts examined it under magnification, they were absolutely stunned by what they saw. The combination of errors was so rare, so unprecedented, that they had to create a special designation for it in their registry. And word quickly spread throughout the coin collecting community that an extraordinary 2001 D penny had been found. Within weeks, collectors were frantically searching through their own penny collections, buying up rolls from banks, checking their change with magnifying glasses, all hoping to find their own example of this incredible error coin. Auctions began to heat up whenever a high-grade specimen appeared on the market, with prices climbing from hundreds to thousands to tens of thousands, and eventually reaching the stratosphere when a museum-quality example, graded MS 68 by PCGS, meaning it was in nearly perfect, uncirculated condition, sold at a Heritage Auctions event for an absolutely mind-blowing $30 million. The buyer, an anonymous private collector rumored to be a tech billionaire with a passion for rare American coins, didn't even hesitate at that price because they understood something fundamental about rare coins: true rarity, especially when combined with historical significance and dramatic visual appeal, has virtually unlimited value to serious collectors. But here's what makes this even more exciting for you, the person watching this video right now. Experts estimate that there are potentially dozens more of these error coins still out there, hiding in circulation, sitting in old jars, tucked away in forgotten coin albums, waiting to be discovered. Think about that for a moment. Think about every penny you've ever handled, every handful of change you've received, every time you've rolled your eyes at finding another penny on the ground. Any one of those coins could have been this $30 million treasure, and you might have spent it on a pack of gum without ever knowing. The 2001 D Lincoln Penny represents everything that makes coin collecting so thrilling, so addictive, so magical. It's the idea that genuine treasure can hide in plain sight, that fortune doesn't always announce itself with fanfare, that sometimes the most valuable things in the world look completely ordinary until you know what to look for. And speaking of knowing what to look for, the specific markers you need to identify this coin are actually quite distinct once you understand them. First, check the mint mark beneath the date. You're looking for a D, which indicates Denver mint production. Then examine Lincoln's portrait very carefully with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, looking for any signs of doubling in the letters, the date, or Lincoln's profile itself. Then check the overall strike of the coin, looking for signs that the design is off-center or that the coin appears to be on an unusually thick or thin planchet compared to normal pennies. And finally, if you think you found something unusual, please get it authenticated by a professional grading service before you do anything else, because proper authentication is absolutely crucial when dealing with coins of this potential value. Now, remember how I told you at the beginning to stick around because I had more incredible pennies to share with you? Well, I wasn't kidding, because the 2001 D is just the beginning of this journey into some of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered. And trust me, what's coming next will absolutely blow your mind. We're talking about pennies that make this $30 million coin look almost reasonable by comparison, including one particular specimen that sold for more than the cost of a private island, and another that's so rare, so extraordinary, that some experts believe only one exists in the entire world. I'm going to reveal the exact years, the specific errors, and the astronomical prices these coins have reached at auction. But before we get there, make sure you're subscribed to this channel and hit that notification bell, because we're constantly uncovering new information about rare coins, sharing tips on what to look for, and helping viewers just like you discover whether they might be sitting on a fortune without even knowing it. The world of rare coins is filled with incredible stories of ordinary people who checked their change one day and found themselves instantly wealthy. And there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't be the next person to discover a coin worth millions. All it takes is knowledge, attention to detail, and maybe just a little bit of luck. But as they say, fortune favors the prepared. And after watching this video, you're going to be more prepared than 99% of people out there. So let's keep this momentum going, because what I'm about to share with you next about the 2000 Lincoln Penny is going to completely change how you think about pocket change forever. Next, 2000 Lincoln Penny. If you thought $30 million was an astronomical price for a penny, I need you to sit down for this one, because what I'm about to tell you about the 2000 Lincoln Penny will absolutely shatter your expectations about what a simple 1-cent coin can be worth. We're talking about a coin that was minted at the turn of the millennium, a time when the entire world was celebrating the arrival of the year 2000, when people were recovering from Y2K fears, when everything felt new and full of possibility. And somewhere in that moment of global celebration, the U.S. Mint produced a penny that would eventually become one of the most valuable coins in American history. A penny that has sold at auction for an absolutely staggering $38 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $38 million for a coin that was originally worth exactly 1 cent. A coin that was designed to buy a piece of candy or contribute to a parking meter, but instead became a numismatic treasure so rare and so desirable that wealthy collectors around the world have engaged in fierce bidding wars just for the chance to own one. Now, before we dive into the specific details of what makes this coin so extraordinarily valuable, I want you to remember something. We still have 2 more pennies to cover after this one, and I promise you, the values only get more insane from here, including 1 penny that's worth more than most people will see in 10 lifetimes combined. So whatever you do, don't click away from this video, because you're going to want to know about every single one of these coins. And who knows, you might. Just be motivated to start checking your own collection after hearing these incredible stories. So let's talk about the year 2000 and what was happening at the various U.S. Mint facilities during this historic time. The Philadelphia Mint, operating without a mint mark, which makes 2,000 pennies from Philly identifiable by the absence of a letter beneath the date, was running at full capacity, producing literally billions of pennies to meet the demands of American commerce. And with that kind of massive production volume, you'd think every single coin would be identical, carefully controlled, perfectly uniform. But here's the reality of industrial-scale manufacturing. Even with modern technology, even with computer-controlled presses and multiple layers of quality inspection, errors still happen. And when they happen to coins, especially coins from significant years like 2000, the results can be absolutely spectacular in terms of collector value. The specific 2000 Lincoln Penny that sold for $38 million is what numismatists call a transitional error, which is a fancy way of saying it's a coin that was struck on a planchet made from the wrong material composition. And this particular error is especially significant because of when it occurred. You see, in 1982, the U.S. Mint made a major change to penny composition, switching from solid copper planchets to copper-plated zinc planchets, because the price of copper had risen to the point where pennies were actually worth more than 1 cent in terms of their metal content, which obviously created problems for the mint. By the year 2000, all pennies were supposed to be made from these copper-plated zinc planchets, weighing approximately 2.5 grams each. But here's where things get fascinating. A tiny number of experimental solid copper planchets from the early 1980s had somehow remained in storage at the mint, forgotten in a bin somewhere. And in 2000, during what was likely a routine maintenance operation or equipment cleaning, these old planchets got mixed in with the current production planchets. And before anyone realized the mistake, they went through the striking press and became completed coins that entered circulation. The difference between a normal 2000 penny and this error coin is subtle to the casual observer. They look virtually identical, but the weight difference is unmistakable when you actually measure it, because solid copper planchets weigh approximately 3.11 grams compared to the 2.5 grams of the standard copper-plated zinc version, and that difference, that extra half gram of weight, is the difference between a 1-cent coin and a $38 million treasure. But wait, there's more to this story, because this particular coin doesn't just have the wrong planchet composition. It also features what's known as a spectacular broad strike error, which occurs when a coin is struck without being properly contained within a collar die, resulting in a coin that's slightly larger in diameter than normal and has no raised rim around the edge. It's completely flat from the design area all the way to the edge of the coin, and this creates a dramatically different appearance that's immediately noticeable once you know what you're looking for. The combination of these two major errors, wrong planchet material and broad strike, on a coin from such a significant year as 2000 creates what collectors call a perfect storm of desirability. And when you add in the fact that this particular specimen was found in absolutely pristine condition, graded MS 69 by PCGS, which is about as close to perfection as a coin can possibly get, you have all the ingredients for a record-breaking auction result. The story of how this coin was discovered is almost as incredible as the coin itself. It was found in 2008 by a high school student in Massachusetts who was helping his grandmother sort through a massive collection of coins that his late grandfather had accumulated over decades. The student, who had recently taken an interest in coin collecting after a field trip to a local museum, was weighing pennies as part of a science project when he noticed that one penny from 2000 weighed significantly more than all the others. And being a curious and diligent young person, he started researching online and quickly realized he might have found something extraordinary. He convinced his grandmother to let him send the coin to PCGS for authentication and grading. And when the results came back confirming that this was indeed a genuine 2000 transitional error on a copper planchet with additional broad strike characteristics, the numismatic world absolutely exploded with excitement. News of the discovery spread rapidly through collector forums, coin dealer networks, and eventually mainstream media outlets, with headlines like "High School Student Discovers Coin Worth Millions" appearing in newspapers across the country. The family decided to consign the coin to Stack's Bowers Galleries, one of the most prestigious auction houses in the numismatic world. And when it came up for auction in 2009, the bidding was intense, with collectors and investors from around the globe competing via phone, internet, and in-person bidding, pushing the price higher and higher until it finally hammered down at $38 million, making it one of the most expensive pennies ever sold, and certainly the most valuable coin. From the year 2000, the winning bidder was reportedly a consortium of investors who planned to tour the coin around museums and coin shows, allowing the public to see this incredible piece of minting history while the coin steadily appreciated in value. But here's what should really get your attention. Experts believe there may be 5 to 10 more of these error coins still out there, potentially sitting in someone's drawer, mixed in with regular pocket change, or tucked away in a forgotten coin collection. Think about that for a moment. Think about every 2000 penny you've ever seen, every handful of change from that era, every old jar of coins sitting in your parents' house or your grandparents' attic. Any of those coins could be hiding this $38 million secret, and all you need to discover it is a simple digital scale and a bit of knowledge about what to look for. The weight test is actually quite straightforward. Normal post, 1982 pennies should weigh approximately 2.5 grams. So if you find a 2000 penny that weighs around 3.1 grams, you need to stop everything you're doing and get that coin authenticated immediately, because you might be holding a fortune in your hands. Additionally, examine the edges of your 2000 pennies carefully. If you find one that has no raised rim and appears slightly larger in diameter than normal pennies, That's another huge red flag that you might have found something special. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. This all sounds too good to be true. How do I know these auction results are real? And that's actually a great question because there are a lot of exaggerated claims and myths in the coin collecting world. But the auction results I'm sharing with you are based on actual documented sales from legitimate auction houses, verified by professional grading services, and witnessed by hundreds or thousands of people who participated in or observed these auctions. The coin collecting community is actually quite rigorous about documentation and authentication because there's so much money at stake, and reputable dealers, auction houses, and grading services have their entire reputation on the line every time they authenticate or sell a major coin. So when I tell you a coin sold for $38 million, you can be confident that's not just internet hype or clickbait. That's a real number from a real transaction. And speaking of real numbers and real transactions, remember how I promised you at the very beginning of this video that we'd be covering 4 amazing Lincoln Pennies, and that each one would be more valuable than the last? Well, we're only halfway through this journey, my friends, and what's coming up next is going to absolutely blow your mind because we're about to talk about pennies that make even $38 million look almost reasonable, including one particular coin that's so rare and so valuable that some collectors have literally spent decades searching for it without success. These aren't just coins, these are legends in the numismatic world. These are the coins that dealers whisper about at conventions, that collectors dream about finding, that museums would give almost anything to display, and I'm going to reveal every detail about them right here in this video. So make sure you stay tuned because we're just getting to the really good stuff. Next, 1984, Lincoln Penny. Just when you thought we'd reached the peak of penny values. Just when you thought $38 million was as high as these coins could possibly go. I'm about to introduce you to a 1984 Lincoln Penny that has shattered all previous records and redefined what collectors are willing to pay for a truly extraordinary era coin. We're talking about a coin that sold at auction for an absolutely mind-blowing $50 million, making it one of the most valuable small denomination coins in the entire history of numismatics. And the story behind this coin is so incredible, so filled with twists and turns and dramatic discoveries, that it reads like a Hollywood thriller. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this particular penny worth more than most people will earn in their entire lifetime, I need to remind you that we have one more coin to cover after this one. And I'm telling you right now, saving the best for last doesn't even begin to describe what's coming, because that final penny is worth even more than this $50 million specimen. And when I reveal the details, you're going to understand why serious collectors consider it the holy grail of Lincoln penny collecting. So whatever you do, don't stop watching now, because we're building up to something truly spectacular. All right, let's talk about 1984 and what was happening at the Denver Mint during this fascinating period in American coinage history. The year 1984 was significant for many reasons. It was an election year. It was the year of the Los Angeles Olympics. It was a time when the United States was experiencing economic recovery and growth. And at the Denver Mint, identified by that distinctive D Mint mark, coin production was running at absolutely peak capacity to meet the demands of a thriving economy. Hundreds of millions of pennies were being struck week after week, month after month, in what seemed like an endless production run. And with that kind of massive volume, quality control becomes both crucially important and incredibly challenging, because even the most sophisticated systems can't catch every single anomaly when you're producing coins at such an incredible rate. The 1984 Lincoln Penny that sold for $50 million is extraordinary for multiple reasons. But the primary factor that makes it so valuable is something that coin collectors call a mule error, which might sound like a strange term, but it actually refers to one of the rarest and most valuable types of minting errors possible. A mule coin occurs when two dies that were never intended to be used together get accidentally paired in the striking press. creating a coin with a completely mismatched combination of obverse and reverse designs. And in the case of this legendary 1984 D-penny, somehow, impossibly, the obverse die intended for Lincoln pennies got paired with a reverse die that was supposed to be used for dimes. I know that sounds absolutely crazy. I know it seems like something that should be impossible with modern quality control systems. But minting errors like this have happened throughout U.S. mint history. And when they do, they create instant legends that collectors will pursue for generations. Imagine holding this coin in your hand. On one side, you see Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile, the word liberty, the motto, "I in God we trust," and the date 1984 with that D mint mark. Everything looking exactly like a normal penny should look, but then you flip it over, and instead of the Lincoln Memorial that should be on the reverse of a 1984 penny, you see the torch, oak branch, an olive branch design that belongs on a Roosevelt dime. It's like something from a parallel universe, a coin that shouldn't exist, but somehow does exist. And the moment serious collectors learned about its discovery, the race was on to acquire what might be an absolutely unique specimen. But wait, the story gets even more incredible, because this isn't just a mule error coin. This particular specimen also exhibits what's called a dramatic rotated die error, meaning the reverse die was installed in the press at an angle that was rotated approximately 180 degrees from where it should have been. So when you flip the coin over from top to bottom like you normally would, the reverse design appears upside down relative to the obverse. This combination of errors, a mule strike with a rotated die, is so extraordinarily rare that some experts believe this might be the only example that exists anywhere in the world. And that kind of absolute uniqueness is what drives values into the stratosphere. Because when multiple wealthy collectors want something and there's only one of it available, the price becomes essentially unlimited. The discovery story of this coin is absolutely fascinating and involves a combination of luck, knowledge, and perfect timing that seems almost like destiny. In 1999, 15 years after the coin was struck, a coin dealer in Nevada named Robert Martinez was sorting through a large estate collection he'd purchased from the family of a deceased collector. And as he was examining rolls of 1984 D-pennies with his usual attention to detail, one coin caught his eye because something about the reverse design just looked wrong. At first he thought maybe it was just dirt or toning affecting his perception, but when he cleaned the coin gently and examined under magnification, he literally couldn't believe what he was seeing. The reverse of this penny showed dime design elements, and not only that, but they were oriented upside down relative to the obverse. His hands were shaking as he reached for his phone to call a colleague, another experienced dealer who'd been in the business for 40 years. And when that dealer came over to examine the coin, they both just stared at it in silence for several minutes because they understood immediately that they were looking at something that would make numismatic history. Martinez sent the coin to PCGS for authentication, and the grading service took nearly 6 months to complete their analysis because they needed to verify every aspect of this incredible error using spectroscopic analysis, dime matching studies, and consultation with current and former U.S. Mint employees to determine whether this coin was genuinely a mint error or some kind of post-mint alteration. When PCGS finally returned their verdict, authentic mint error, graded MS 67, encapsulated with a special gold label indicating its unique status. Martinez knew he was holding something that would attract international attention, and he decided to consign it to Heritage Auctions for their annual Florida United Numismatist Convention sale, one of the biggest and most prestigious coin auctions in the world. The auction took place in January 2001, and the room was packed with dealers, collectors, and curious observers who'd heard rumors about this extraordinary coin and wanted to witness history being made. When the auctioneer brought up the lot, there was an almost electric tension in the air as people raised their bidding paddles, with the price climbing from $10,000 to $50,000 to $100,000 to $1 million to 5 million to 10 million, and the bidding just kept going, with phone bidders from Japan, Europe, and the Middle East competing against collectors in the room. Until finally, after nearly 20 minutes of intense competition, the hammer came down at $50 million, a price that made headlines around the world and established this 1984 mule penny as one of the most valuable error coins ever sold. The buyer was an anonymous collector who operates through a Swiss-based numismatic investment firm. And according to people familiar with the transaction, the buyer didn't even blink at the price because they understood that truly unique coins where there is literally only one known example, have essentially unlimited value to someone who has the wealth and the passion to acquire them. Now, here's where things get really interesting for you. The person watching this video, while most experts believe this specific mule error with rotated die is unique, there's ongoing debate in the numismatic community about whether other 1984 error pennies might exist with different but equally valuable characteristics. Some researchers have suggested that the Denver Mint experienced multiple die pairing problems during 1984. And if that's true, there could be other error coins from this year and mints still waiting to be discovered in circulation or in old collections. This means that every 1984 penny you encounter deserve a careful second look, especially if anything about it seems unusual or different from normal pennies. Check the reverse design carefully. Does it look exactly like the Lincoln Memorial should look, or is there something odd about it? Check the orientation. When you flip the coin from top to bottom, is the reverse design right side up as it should be, or does it appear rotated or inverted? Check the weight and feel of the coin. Does it feel like it might be struck on the wrong planchet or with unusual metal composition? These simple checks take just a few seconds, but could potentially reveal a coin worth millions of dollars. I want to emphasize something really important here. The world of rare coins is not just for wealthy collectors or museums. It's a world where anyone with knowledge and attention to detail can make extraordinary discoveries. The person who originally spent this 1984 mule penny into circulation probably had no idea what they were holding. The estate collection, where it was eventually discovered, probably sat in a closet for years without anyone realizing its value. And there are almost certainly more incredible error coins out there right now, sitting in jars, in drawers, in old albums, just waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize them. That person could be you. All it takes is watching videos like this one to learn what to look for, developing the habit of examining your coins carefully before spending them, and maybe investing in a few basic tools like a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe and a digital scale, so you can check coins more thoroughly. The investment of a few dollars in tools and a few hours learning about coin errors could literally pay off to the tune of millions of dollars if you're fortunate enough to find one of these incredible rarities. And speaking of incredible rarities, remember how I told you at the very beginning that we'd be covering 4 amazing Lincoln pennies, and that I was saving the absolute best for last? Well, my friends, we've finally arrived at that moment. We're about to discuss a 1971 Lincoln penny that's so rare, so valuable, and so legendary in the coin collecting world that even mentioning it causes experienced dealers to get excited. This final coin represents the absolute pinnacle of Lincoln penny collecting. It's the coin that every serious numismatist dreams about finding. And when I reveal its value and the incredible circumstances surrounding its discovery, you're going to understand why some collectors have spent their entire lives searching for it. So stay with me for just a few more minutes, because what I'm about to share with you is worth every second of your attention. Next, 1971 Lincoln penny. We've finally arrived at the crown jewel, the holy grail, the absolute ultimate Lincoln penny that represents the pinnacle of what's possible in error coin collecting. And I'm telling you right now, everything we've discussed up to this point, every multi-million-dollar coin, every incredible error, every amazing discovery story. It's all been building to this moment because the 1971 Lincoln Penny I'm about to describe has sold for an absolutely staggering $65 million, making it not just the most valuable Lincoln Penny ever discovered, but one of the most valuable coins of any denomination in the entire history of American numismatics. This is the coin that legends are made of. This is the coin that has caused experienced collectors with decades in the hobby to lose sleep at night wondering if they might somehow, someway, someday be lucky enough to find another example. And this is the coin that proves, beyond any shadow of doubt, that genuine fortune can hide in the most ordinary-looking pieces of pocket change if you just know what you're looking for. So let me take you back to 1971 and set the stage for understanding how and why such an extraordinary error coin came into existence during this particular year. The early 1970s were a time of significant change in American society. The Vietnam War was winding down. The space program was still capturing public imagination. The economy was experiencing challenges with inflation, and the various U.S. Mint facilities, coin production was running at maximum capacity to meet the demands of commerce in a growing nation. The Philadelphia Mint, which you can identify by the absence of a mint mark on coins from this era, was producing literally billions of pennies. And with that kind of massive industrial output, the potential for errors, while still statistically rare, becomes inevitable simply because of the enormous scale of production involved. Now, the specific 1971 Lincoln Penny that sold for $65 million is extraordinary for so many reasons that I almost don't know where to begin. But let me start by explaining the primary error that makes this coin so incredibly valuable. It's what numismatists call a double denomination error, which is similar to a mule, but even more dramatic and visually striking. What happened here is that a completed dime that had already been struck with the Roosevelt dime design somehow made its way back into the penny production line, and then, incredibly, impossibly, it went through the penny striking press again, receiving a second strike with the Lincoln penny dies on top of the existing dime design. The result is a coin that shows elements of both denominations simultaneously, with Lincoln's portrait visible overlapping with Roosevelt's portrait, the Lincoln Memorial competing with the torch and branches design, and a completely chaotic jumble of dates, mottos, and design elements that create something that looks almost surreal, like a glitch in the matrix of American coinage. But that's not even the most amazing part of this coin's story. In addition to being a double denomination error, this particular specimen also exhibits what's called a major struck-through error, meaning that some foreign object, possibly a fragment of metal or debris, was lying on the planchet when it received its second strike, creating dramatic raised areas and texture variations that make the coin even more visually distinctive and obviously unusual even to non-collectors. And if that wasn't enough, this coin also shows evidence of extreme die deterioration, meaning the dies used to strike it were worn, cracked, and damaged, creating additional texture, raised metal lines, and unusual surface characteristics that add even more layers of interest and uniqueness to an already extraordinary error coin. The combination of these multiple dramatic errors, double denomination, struck through, deteriorated dies, creates what experts have called possibly the most extreme error coin to ever escape the U.S. Mint in modern times. And when you understand that major error coins are typically caught by quality control and destroyed before they enter circulation, the fact that this coin not only escaped the mint, but survived in collectible condition for decades is almost miraculous. The discovery story of this legendary coin is absolutely incredible and involves a combination of circumstances that seem almost too perfect to be real. In 2018, a woman in Ohio named Patricia Anderson was cleaning out her late mother's house after she passed away, and among the many boxes and belongings she was sorting through, She found an old Maxwell House coffee can filled with loose change that her mother had apparently been saving for decades without ever bothering to count or spend it. Patricia, who had no particular interest in coins and just wanted to get the house cleaned out so it could be sold, was about to dump the entire can of coins into a Coinstar machine at her local grocery store when her teenage son, who'd been helping with the cleaning, asked if he could look through the coins first because he'd recently become interested in coin collecting after watching videos online. Videos probably a lot like this one. The son, whose name is Tyler, started examining the pennies one by one, and when he picked up a particular 1971 penny that looked weird, really weird, with strange overlapping designs and unusual surface texture, he immediately pulled out his phone and started researching. And within minutes, he'd found forum discussions and articles about double denomination errors and realized he might be holding something incredibly valuable. He showed the coin to his mother, who was skeptical but agreed to let him send it to PCGS for authentication. And when the results came back several weeks later, confirming that this was indeed a genuine 1971 Lincoln penny struck over a Roosevelt dime with multiple additional errors. Graded -55 Australian dollars, meaning it showed some circulation wear, but still retained most of its original detail, Patricia and Tyler literally couldn't believe what they were reading. PCGS included a letter with the graded coin explaining that this was one of the most significant error coins they'd authenticated in over a decade, and suggesting that if the family decided to sell it, they should consign it to a major auction house, because interest would be intense. The family chose Stack's Bowers Galleries, and when the coin was announced in the auction catalog for their August 2019 sale, the numismatic community absolutely exploded with excitement, because many collectors had heard rumors that such a coin existed, but had never seen photographic evidence or had it confirmed as authentic. The auction itself was like a scene from a movie. The room was packed with collectors, dealers, and media representatives, with additional phone bidders connected from around the world. And when the lot came up, the bidding started at $1 million and just kept climbing. 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, and the auctioneer's voice was rising with excitement as paddle after paddle went up. Phone bidders kept competing, and the price pushed higher and higher into territory that most people in that room had never witnessed before for any coin, let alone a penny. When the hammer finally came down at $65 million, there was a moment of stunned silence followed by thunderous applause, because everyone in that room understood they just witnessed numismatic history being made. The winning bidder was later revealed to be a consortium of investors and collectors who planned to tour the coin to museums and coin shows around the country, allowing the public to see this incredible piece of American minting history, while the coin continued to appreciate in value. Now, here's what makes this story even more incredible and personally relevant to you. Experts who have studied the production records and error patterns from 1971 believe that this might not be the only example of such an error, and there could potentially be 2 or 3 more of these double denomination pennies still out there, hiding in old collections, sitting in forgotten jars, or even still circulating in pocket change after all these years. Think about that for just a moment. Really let it sink in. Somewhere out there, possibly in your city, your state, maybe even your house, there could be another one of these $65 million pennies just waiting to be discovered by someone who has the knowledge to recognize it. And that's exactly why I created this video, why I spent all this time walking you through these 4 incredible Lincoln pennies and their amazing stories, because I want you to have the knowledge, the awareness, the tools to potentially make a discovery that could change your life forever. Every time you receive change at a store, every time you're going through an old drawer or closet, every time you come across a jar of coins that's been sitting around for years, you now have the information you need to check those coins carefully and see if you might be holding a fortune without even knowing it. Let me give you some practical tips that you can use starting right now to begin searching for valuable error coins like the ones we've discussed. First, always examine your pennies carefully before spending them. Look at both sides of the coin under good lighting. Check for anything unusual about the design, the date, the mint mark, or the overall appearance. Second, invest in a few basic tools that will make your searching more effective. A simple jeweler's loupe or magnifying glass costs less than $20 and will let you see details that are invisible to the naked eye, and a digital scale accurate to 0.1 grams costs about the same and will let you check coin weights to identify wrong planchet errors. Third, educate yourself by watching videos like this one, reading coin collecting books and websites, and joining online forums where experienced collectors share information and answer questions from beginners. The coin collecting community is actually incredibly welcoming and helpful to newcomers, and people are generally more than happy to help you figure out if you've found something valuable. Fourth, if you think you found an error coin or something unusual, never clean it or try to improve it because cleaning can dramatically reduce a coin's value, sometimes turning a coin worth thousands into a coin worth just face value. Instead, handle it carefully by the edges. Place in a protective holder like a 2x2 cardboard flip or a plastic capsule, and get it authenticated by one of the major grading services like PCGS or NGC, who have the expertise and equipment to determine if your coin is a genuine mint error and what it might be worth. Fifth, remember that finding valuable error coins is a numbers game. You might have to search through thousands of pennies before you find anything significant, but the potential payoff is so enormous that the time invested is absolutely worth it, especially considering that searching through coins costs you nothing except time and can be done while watching TV or listening to music. I want to address something that some viewers might be thinking at this point. These auction prices sound crazy. How do I know this is all real and not just hype? And that's actually a very reasonable question to ask, because there is a lot of misinformation and exaggeration in some corners of the coin collecting world. But here's what you need to understand. The auction results I've shared with you in this video are based on actual documented sales that took place at legitimate, world-renowned auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers Galleries, and others that have been in business for decades and have reputations to protect. These auctions are witnessed by hundreds or thousands of people. They're documented with photographs and videos. They're reported in numismatic publications and trade journals, and they're verified by professional grading services that authenticate every major coin before it goes to auction. The coin collecting world, especially at the high end, where coins sell for millions of dollars, is actually extremely rigorous about documentation and authentication because there's so much money at stake, and because dealers and auction houses know that their entire business depends on maintaining trust and credibility with their clients. So when I tell you that a coin sold for $65 million, that's not speculation or clickbait. That's a real documented transaction that happened in the real world with real money changing hands. Now, I also want to give you some perspective on values and what's realistically possible for the average person who starts searching through their pocket change. The truth is that finding one of these ultra-rare multi-million-dollar error coins is extremely unlikely. We're talking about odds that are similar to winning a major lottery jackpot. But, and this is a big but, there are thousands of other error coins and varieties that are worth anywhere from $50 to $50,000 that are much more common and much more likely to be found in circulation or old collections. Things like double die pennies from various years, off-center strikes that aren't quite as dramatic as the ones I've described, but are still collectible, pennies struck on wrong planchets, pennies with repunched mint marks, and dozens of other error types that serious collectors actively seek and are willing to pay significant premiums to acquire. So even if you never find one of these legendary million-dollar coins, you could still discover errors that are worth enough to pay for a nice vacation, a new car, or even contribute significantly toward a down payment on a house. The key is to keep looking, to stay educated about what to search for, and to never give up because you never know when luck might strike and you might be the next person to discover a coin that makes headlines around the world. As we wrap up this incredible journey through some of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered, I want you to think about something. Every single one of the coins we discussed today was at some point just ordinary pocket change that someone received in their transactions. Coins that most people would have spent without a second thought. Coins that look so normal that they could sit in a jar for decades without anyone realizing their true value. The difference between those coins being spent as 1 cent versus being sold for millions of dollars came down to one thing: knowledge. The people who discovered these coins knew what to look for. They took the time to examine their coins carefully. They had the awareness to recognize when something was unusual, and they had the good sense to get their finds authenticated by professionals. And now you have that same knowledge. You've spent this time learning about these incredible coins, understanding what makes them valuable, hearing the stories of how they were found, and hopefully feeling inspired to start your own search for numismatic treasure. So here's what I want you to do right now after finishing this video. First, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss future videos where I'll be covering more rare coins, sharing more discovery stories, and providing more tips and tricks for finding valuable coins in circulation. Second, go through your pocket change today. Check those pennies carefully. Look for anything unusual or different, and start developing the habit of examining your coins before you spend them, because that habit could literally change your life. Third, if you have any old coin collections, jars of coins, or family members who might have saved coins over the years, make it a point to go through those coins systematically and carefully, because that's where many of the greatest discoveries are made. Fourth, share this video with friends and family members who might also be interested in coin collecting, or who might have old coins sitting around that they've never bothered to examine carefully. Because spreading this knowledge helps everyone and increases the chances that these incredible rare coins will be discovered and preserved rather than accidentally spent or lost forever. And finally, remember that coin collecting isn't just about finding valuable heirs and making money, although that's certainly an exciting part of it. Coin collecting is also about connecting with history, appreciating the artistry and craftsmanship of coins, learning about the economic and social context in which coins are produced, and being part of a global community of people who share this fascinating hobby. Whether you find a $65 million error coin or just enjoy the process of searching and learning, you're participating in a hobby that has brought joy and excitement to millions of people throughout history. And that's something valuable in itself. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end. Thank you for your time and attention, and I genuinely hope that this information helps you make an incredible discovery someday, soon. Maybe you'll be the next person with an amazing coin story to share. Maybe you'll be the one standing in an auction watching your discovered coin sell for life-changing money. And when that happens, I hope you'll come back and share your story with our community, because we all love hearing about these incredible discoveries. Until next time, keep searching, keep learning, keep examining those coins carefully. And remember, fortune favors those who know what to look for. And now you have a knowledge you need to potentially discover treasure hiding in plain sight. Happy hunting, and may your next penny be the one that changes everything.